Hey, praise the Lord. We're back here in OMAC. Let's say the Lord's Supper. Church History, lecture 39. I'm looking at the wrong form here. Lecture 39. Now, before I get any more confused, we've made some changes to the course schedule. You online, I don't know if you have this yet, but you will. For you folks here, what's the changes? Well, if you look at your course schedule, if you have it, if not, just listen. Next lecture is going to be, what is an independent Baptist church? Okay, yes, a lot of interest in that from the looks of it here.
Amen.
People talking. And then 41 is open right now. It'll probably be on that subject matter too, or we'll just jump into ecumenicism, or ecumenism, which is the last part. So 40 and 41 have changed.
Are you going to write that down anywhere?
Right there. So, I didn't get a chance to print that out because I wasn't sure what I was doing. So, you can scribble that on your own course schedule and you can update it as you want, and then we'll get you a new paper soon. Now, I'm not sure why we have these black little blocks in here. So, I don't know if the online students have that or not, but it's a breathing spot. This will be interesting. Some of you have been part of independent Baptist churches most of your life, but don't really know much about them, about other churches, big guys. Some are new to independent Baptists and have no clue on this. Some know about these, but it's good to have more information. Again, we're independent Baptists, so we'll go into this a little bit more than probably any other Bible college would do, unless they were independent Baptists. But as you understand our stance on what a church is, this is fairly important. Because these are at least the organizations and famous men and stuff in the past 30 years that is shaping somewhat these independent Baptists. Though most independent Baptists, I would say, beyond 50% are not, I'm guessing, are not part of these big groups here. Though I've done the survey, but it could be that case. So, the past 30 years, 1980 to 2010, who are some of the faces and big names and big groups in independent Baptistdom? Who, I tell you, who? You'll find out. In the past 30 years, there have been some new Baptist groups and movements formed. It's important to know where a new group comes from. Where do they come from? That's important to know. For that will give you a wealth of information on where they are heading. So if they came out of the Southern Baptist Convention and became an independent Baptist church, that will tell you some things. Doesn't mean that they're horrible, but that's just interesting. If they've existed for the past 40 years as an independent Baptist group or church, that's a little different. Somebody coming out of the American Baptist Convention, USA, wants to be independent of them because they're way too liberal, because they're okay with homosexuality, but just not homosexuals being in the pastorate. Now they're independent Baptists. Yeah, see, that's what we get. We get anyone and everyone who's upset with conventionism, associationism, groupism. Then they form their own group anyways, so they're back into the non-independence, okay? So understand what you have to deal with. The term independent is an adjective, though we use it like a name. You have to be careful. I'm getting away from that. I'm Baptist. Independent Baptist. And then there's these groups of independent Baptists that I you could say, go along with for the most part. All right. How do these groups become independent anyways? Well, usually, as this last line says, whatever big group they're in is becoming what? More liberal or more conservative?
Liberal.
More liberal, and they out. Not like all the way back at the most conservative stance. It's just somewhat more conservative. Occasionally, though, they come out of conservative ranks and want to be more liberal. I don't know if that's in here, but that has happened. So let's go to examine those of a more conservative flavor here. Okay, I guess we will get into that. Sovereign Grace Baptists, 1980, this is a group. There have been Sovereign Grace type Baptists for a long time, but here's a group called that. Only 4,000 people, 350 churches, headquarters, and there's this guy, John Zenz. So that tells you about them. No real formal headquarters, some guys handling media. Sovereign Grace Baptists are a result of differences within Reformed Baptists, which began about 1980 over certain doctrinal points And you don't need to know much about this, it's just interesting. They're more critical of covenant theology and place greater stress on the new covenant, but they're less puritanical. So I guess that deals with holiness and purity, maybe? This movement is a spontaneous phenomenon concerning Reformation at the local church level. Well, they don't want to start any big group because they're local church type Baptists, so that's good. But the biggest problem I see with them is their sovereign grace. What does that mean to you?
Calvin. Yeah.
So beyond that, so people that don't know anything about this, what would you say?
Some go to heaven, some go to hell.
And they don't choose God's.
Okay, those two minds together make an actual sentence that makes sense. Good.
Just because they're very...
Two minds work together for good. All right, so that's interesting. So Sovereign Grace Baptists, sovereign grace is the key. They even use that in there. And they're all about grace. I tell you, that's the grace? That doesn't sound like grace to me.
No.
It sounds like a bummer deal. Why was I even born if I'm not in the elect? That's not fair. Some could say that. All right, let's move on to something a little more close to me. Independent Baptist Fellowship International, don't know much about them, but I do know this guy. In fact, I went to a conference in Tacoma where this fellow spoke. First time I ever heard him speak, I was like, wow, for an old guy, he's pretty good. He definitely has lots of Bible memorized, and that's usually a good sign. He is a good preacher and seems solid on everything, so here he is, Raymond Barber. In 1984, he was and is pastor of Worth Baptist Church. I like that, Fort Worth, Texas. Former president of the World Baptist Fellowship, which we studied last week. And he's a professor at Arlington Baptist College. And after having engaged in serious controversy with the college, led in establishing the Independent Baptist Fellowship International. So, you got these famous guys, they get in an argument in leadership, and they'll all make my own, I tell you. I'm not saying he was like that, but I can understand that. Just think if you were part of a big organization and they were drifting away from what you would feel is right. Maybe they're getting weaker on the King James, or they figure soul winning is a waste of time, things like that. Dress standards, music standards going. I'd say, well, I'm out of here. And you may just have to form your own, or why not just be part of a church? Pastor a church. Why spend all this time on these big organizations? Pastor your church, pastor! Can you name some famous Independent Baptist pastors that are heading up large organizations or colleges and this, that, and the other thing that are parachurch? Well, some of these guys, this guy right here we're talking about, Robert Lewis, Dick Webster, they're pastors, or some of them are retired pastors now because they're all into their group. I'm not saying these guys are bad, but it's like Sam Davison. Now he's not pastoring, he stepped down because he's got all these engagements he's got to do.
Pastor?
I'm just not certain how he did all this, pastoring a church of 2,000 and then speaking at a different church every other week. That'd be a tough thing to do.
Didn't Robert Lewis come up? I think he came up to Orville and spoke at...
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Okay,
same guy.
then I
Lewis.
did meet him then.
Yeah. Sam Davison's a great guy, great preacher. That'd be a hard thing to do. If I was gone every other Sunday, and then you've got Paul Chappell, some guys you might have heard of, and others. I just don't know how you pastor a church and do that. Well, maybe you're just there for the big decision making and preaching. But pastoring is a lot of interaction with the folks, so it'd be a hard thing to do. I'll try not to do that when I become famous, okay?
Okay.
That's good.
When I'm 90 years old.
This is being recorded, right?
Yes, it is. Yes. So you have it on tape. I said I'll try and not do that. Fame and all. At the same time, he led the IBFI to found Norris Bible Baptist Institute, which meets at the Worth Baptist Church, and to open a mission office, of course, and begin publication of the Searchlight. So you got to have all these things to be a big cat. Got to have your church. Then you got to have what? You got to have your fellowship or association. Okay. Then a college, and then a publication, and then a missions office. Okay, once you got all those, you are somebody. There's a lot of sarcasm for you folks out there in the Baptist, but think about it. It's kind of silly. One of its largest congregations is the Worth Baptist Church with a membership of 2,000. Yeah, that's not small, that's for sure. I think officially it becomes a megachurch when you're over, is it 1,000 or 2,000 in any type of church now. I think it's, no, not in Independent Baptist. We make a joke about that. But I think 1,000 or 2,000 where they draw the line for being a megachurch. So they're just in there in megachurchdom, yes. I wish we were. It'd be great. IBFNA. Founded in 19, sounds like a credit union. Founded in 1990. 250 pastors, so they're representing churches. So where did this thing come from? Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's a split from who? Split off from?
JRBC.
GRBC. So I don't fellowship with GRBC churches or pastors. Do you? Have you?
I don't know.
Not I can remember.
It came across.
Yeah, but not purposely.
Right.
Yeah. Not that if you're GRBC then you stink like a skunk. I'm just saying I haven't done that. There's some concerns with them. So they're a split off of them. Okay, it was drifting from its original strict separationist position. Yeah, that's what they do when they get big. Every one of them will drift to the left. That's my statement. Maybe just a little bit, but they won't drift to the right. You don't hear about that happening. Hey, let's get more holy. Let's have more separatist stand. Let's do away more with parachurchism. And we finish this up by saying this. In 1993, the IBFNA ratified its constitution in Providence, Rhode Island. About half of the members still have association with GRBC, while the others have been simply independent. Okay, so they're kind of holding on to GRBC. I didn't know they could do that. Oh, pastors can, but churches can't. Right? Remember what last week we learned about GRBC? What don't they allow for their churches? Dual membership. It's us or nobody. GIBF, probably the newest and biggest and greatest and all that. So, and we support missionaries from the GIBF. Give. So, in 2000, fellowship arising from doctrinal disputes within the BBFI. That's probably the biggest fellowship out there. Pastors and churches withdrawing from the BBFI objected to perceived modernism related to these issues. And perceived, it's true. The Bible, King James. Music, drifting to CCM, well, what's it say, rock music. Worshipping styles, praise and worship style. Ecclesiology, universal church. And other issues, ecumenicism. And serving the Antichrist. Things like that. No, just kidding. According to their purpose statement, the GIBF desires to encourage the establishment of New Testament Baptist churches. You like that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not a bad thing to try and do. To encourage pastors and missionaries by unifying around a common doctrinal belief. I don't know. Yeah. But here you got to kind of find your common ground, I guess. Don't be too narrow here, because we got to allow some guys in. 3, to encourage global evangelism by networking our churches, resources, and personnel. This is how they all start. I'm not saying they're trying to become a denomination type thing, or where they control things like the BBFI and BIMI. But they start off just trying to be a help. See where we can be a help at. And they get big, and they're a help. Hopefully they won't. To encourage the training of Christian leaders for the fulfillment of the Great Commission. So you see how they say encourage, not actually doing it? Because what would have happened if it said to train Christian leaders for the fulfillment of the Great Commission? Would you have a problem with that?
Mm-hmm. They would have to be members of their church.
Yeah, it'd have to be a church. So to encourage. We're here to encourage. Okay, I hope it's just encourage. That's it. Don't get in our affairs. But it's not that way, because they're an organization and they've got to have people follow rules, decorum. Otherwise, they're not of any big importance to anybody if any missionary that's part of them can do whatever they want. And there's no consequences. You see what can happen? So let's say the GIBF, here's a little learning point for all of us, and me too. The GIBF, let's say they have 100 missionaries signed up with them. So what does that mean? Why exist? What is their importance? Well, that GIBF is getting a name. It's a label. It's something you can trust, maybe. So if someone makes it through the ranks and all the check marks to become a GIBF approved missionary, some people like me might go, oh, that guy might be okay. Well, then I'm all right with that guy. I'll just check him out a little bit. But if they've already run through the mill, fine. And so you have all this power and authority coming on in here. That's the danger. And 5, to encourage the perpetuity of historic Baptist distinctives. Well, sounds all good. In addition to the missionary and evangelistic work of the churches, GIBF publishes a quarterly, the Baptist Times, and supports the Heartland Baptist Bible College. What do you have to do? That's from Fact Index. That's not even a Baptist site. So there's Dick Webster. He was on the board. I'm not sure what he's doing now. Robert Lewis is really the founder kind of guy of GIBF.
Didn't he go to Iraq for a while too?
Yeah, he's done a lot of interesting things. He's a good guy. Like these guys, I met them both. So, I guess if you had to pick, what would be your favorite fellowship? If you wanted to subscribe to a fellowship, it might be this missions fellowship, but it's becoming more than that. And it's centered around Heartland, the college. Anybody here ever gone to Heartland Baptist Bible College? Who did? Is it Katie? Katie? No?
Yeah.
Do you know who, sir? yeah, he does. That was Brother Randy. He's a good guy. A lot of friends go there. All right, now onward to what's called the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. They're cooperating to go against the Southern Baptist Convention. All right, headquarters in Atlanta. That tells you a lot. Headquarters in Atlanta. What do you think about that already? It's Atlanta.
Oh boy.
No, we don't know. Atlanta's it's a big city.
They sweat a lot.
They sweat a lot there.
Are you scared there?
All righty. That airport there is a fun one to get around in. Okay. We're just joking around with you, Georgia folks. The Cooperative Baptist Fellowship began in 1990 as a reaction to the successful effort by conservatives to capture the denominational institutions of the Southern Baptist Convention. After more than 10 years of public controversy between conservative and moderate liberal factions of the convention. Okay, most of you didn't understand what I said there. I understand this perfectly. Let's go over this again. This is a big statement. Because if you don't get this,
I
then...
got it.
Okay. She got it.
Oh, we're good.
Maybe everyone else did. Let me just repeat it just in case it just slipped you. Because they came out of what? The Southern Baptist Convention because of controversy with the, they have the moderate liberal factions, and this is the conservative faction. And the Southern Baptist Convention is huge. This has been going on for many, many years, and so they formed this Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. Now, I think they're still SBCs. I'm not sure how that works right now.
Membership?
I think they're a fellowship form, but they're still SBC churches. I don't know. I have to check that some more. So they're theologically moderate. The CBF withdrew from the SBC over philosophical theological differences, such as the SBC prohibition of women serving as pastors.
Oh, huh?
Okay.
That would do
I think I misspoke. Here's the one where they come from a more conservative and come out because they're too conservative and become one of them. I misspoke if I have to replay that. So you can replay that and you can see if I misspoke. You guys, can you replay it right now?
I thought prohibition meant prohibiting.
Right. So this is a group, they're on the liberal side.
And the SBC prohibited women serving
Yeah,
as
so I
pastors.
misspoke earlier. It's been a long day. So this group was the liberal faction, and the conservative faction held in the SBC, and it still is holding today, though don't think of it as a great, really conservative. It's just more conservative than this other group. So they were more liberal, so they formed their own fellowship at least, because they're all for women pastors. But there's female SBC pastors. There are. So it's interesting. The liberal faction initially started the Alliance of Baptists in '87. Frustrated moderates, following suit, met in 1990 and organized this Cooperative Baptist. So these are the moderates, I'm sorry. There's the liberals, they formed the Alliance of Baptists. I have to replay all this. The moderates formed what? Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. And you still got the SBC, those conservatives.
Yeah,
those great conservatives. Staunch conservatives, yeah. All right, boy. You know things are getting bad when then we say it that way. There was the opinion of the moderates that the conservatives had departed from Baptist distinctives.
What?
Yeah. Hey, you conservatives, you're departing from Baptist distinctives. Way too conservative. You know, Baptists in the four-time out, they did everything. It doesn't make any sense to me. All right, so congregations can hold joint membership with CBF or SBC. You see how that works? So you can be part of that fellowship and still be part of the Southern Baptist Convention. So that's how they have their female pastors, maybe. I was wondering about that. I just needed to read on. Just needed to read on. And I so wanted to go on, but just because the brain has stopped working and I need to have some pizza and stuff, and before I have to listen to about TD Jakes there, let's take a break.
Okay, he's